The process of carving this cobra started by sawing away a large triangle of material that wasn't being used by the sculpture according to my sketches. I did this so that I could potentially find a use for this section of wood I removed in a different project. That way I feel better about this carving that way, because a snake is relatively thin, but because I wanted to make a cobra to give it some more interesting shape, I had to make it on a bigger piece of wood compared to... I felt like the volume of wood that was used in the final sculpture compared to the volume of wood that I started with, it felt very wasteful. So by removing a section and reserving it for later that way, I felt a lot better about it that way. When I actually started carving the snake, I started with the head. I chose to start with that because it was the most accessible section. Because of the shape of the body, it looked... a large section of the snake of the surface I wanted to carve away was basically fully inaccessible with the methods I was used to using. So by removing the material that is most accessible first, the idea was that I was gaining access to more of that inaccessible wood. That sentence doesn't really make that much sense, but I think you get the idea. Then I worked on the section, the swoop of the neck. I really don't know how to describe a snake. I started by removing this section still because the most inaccessible section is that bit of neck right near the head, because the rest of the body of snake blocks it, and that was the challenge of this project, the main one, let's say. So most of the work before I managed to get access to that section was how much I could carve away before I wanted to carve as much as possible without disturbing the initial lines I traced. Because, of course, if I started doing the sides and the overall shape of the body of the snake from the other axis, I probably would have been able to get better access to the neck faster. But the shape of the body was critical to me, so I want the profile, the side view of the body of the snake was more critical to me because it felt harder to guess later. So I wanted to do as much of the profile of the snake before ever touching the shape of the body from the front. I didn't show it on the. I forgot to record it, but I did remove another section of wood at the back of the snake, similar to what I removed from the front with a saw. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to use that section of wood. It's between two sessions. Between two sessions, I sawed a section on the front and a section at the back. So I have 3 different sections of wood that were removed from using a saw. 1 big one and 2 smaller one that will be harder to use in different projects, but I'll see what I can do. I don't really want to throw away big chunks like that. The idea for the base of the snake was initially that I'd make a section of like the body, the snake's coil, like around the base. But because of how thick the snake was, when it came time to try to carve away the base into the shape of the snake's coiled body, it felt like it would look ridiculous. So instead, I went with just a oval base, just for a better cohesion. That's not the right word. For a better overall look. And with this, because the angles and the ways I needed to carve were different than usual, I did experiment a lot more with different knives, different chisels, and some work really well. With I should try to use more different knives more often, because I'm missing out on easier ways to do things. Of course, not everything warrants a different knife, but some things do. For example, I thought I was at the neck, so I started to talk about something else that isn't here yet. So here I felt like I'd done enough of the side profile to start working on the front to back profile, following the lines I'd made. This was a section that was really fun to make. The wood was removing itself. I had a good angle to remove relatively large chips of wood at once. That felt good. And it really went well, that specific section. The whole project went well, but that section was the chillest, easiest one by far. One of the things I could have done better, probably, I don't know exactly how, is the final section of the removal of this bit of wood, where it meets the base. The way I did it, well, I did it fairly roughly, because at that point I was still planning on removing a lot of material on the base anyway, so it didn't matter how clean the connection, the removal was at that point. But because of how roughly I did it, I had to do quite a lot of fairly difficult work later to fix that section, that connection there, because there was kind of a hill, so to speak, on both sides of the snake that really looked strange if I didn't move them with an oval base. So I had to work a lot with a chisel to remove them. I'm pretty sure I don't show that in the video, that fixing part, because the camera angle was just terrible, so it didn't feel useful to keep it there. But yeah, you can see there's this bump that was really rough to remove later. And I did the same thing for both sides. That was a mistake. That tells me that I should treat each cut as if they're going to be final in the visible in the final product, because that way, yes, that section here would have been a bit harder maybe, and I'd have had to go at it with more precision. But then later, that would have saved me a lot of effort. So there is a balance to strike here between doing things efficiently and not giving me myself more work later, if that makes sense. So far in my wood carving, I believe this is the only example of me shooting my own foot like that, but it's a good lesson to learn. And the reason why this moment was chosen to remove the sides was to give even more room to access the section of the neck right beside the head. That was kind of the dreaded moment of this project. I only tackled it 4 sessions in. You're currently watching the footage from the 3rd session. So, and I didn't do one session a week. I've just not been streaming and filming that much recently. Like, there's no use in forcing myself to do it if the mood isn't right. So I think this project took something like 3-4 months. I don't know. I didn't keep track of time. And my perception of time is really terrible. So first, I tried to attack the neck with a bit of a chisel to lock in the curve. Then with a knife. That didn't work well, so a different chisel was taken, one with a bit of an angle instead of a curve. And the technique that truly did end up working is using this, I believe this type of wood carving knife is supposed to be used for a spoon, for making spoons and things like that. But the strange angle, it allowed me a very good cutting angle on the side of the neck, and because the knife is curved, it was fairly easy to make a curved surface with it. It's some of my best curved carving. That's a knife I knew existed. I knew I had in my set from the very beginning, but I didn't really feel the need to use it yet, and that's the first real time I've used it, in fact. All the times it just sat there doing nothing because I had no idea how to use it. It's kind of an awkward shape. I didn't really know how to handle it properly. I tend to want to leverage my thumb on the blade, but it took me a while to recognize that there's a thicker section near the handle just for that. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why it took so long for me to use that knife. Then once I was satisfied with the neck, I had to start working on the transition between the profiles so that it becomes a lot less blocky and more cohesive. And at that point, I start removing some of the harsh angles, some of the... and I try to work the shape of the head, make it around the head that transitions into the hood of the cobra. I'm not sure how well I did this specific part of shaping the head. I like the way it turned out, but it feels a bit lopsided and not. I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it. I like the final result, but I think I could have done better with symmetry and having a better idea of the shape I actually want to have before I start to carve it. I had different ways I wanted to do the snake, and I didn't really know which one to take. So one side as kind of one method, and the other as kind of the other method. That doesn't make sense what I'm saying. I don't really know. With how many times I say I don't know, I should probably make myself a script. But I don't really want to make a script for these videos, because that's going to be really annoying for me. It would add a lot of work to just... I don't know. I don't think it would be worth it. It would remove a lot of silence. It would maybe be better for a quality video, but these videos are mostly for my own interaction and me thinking about the process of making art, so it doesn't bother me that much if the video isn't good, so to speak. Here in the 6th session, I'm starting to really work on the curvature of the body, making it a smoother transition between initial phases of the sculpture. And this is another part that I feel went fairly well. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but the wood was removing itself smoothly and almost exactly how I wanted it to. I felt really in control of this specific section of the project, even if there was some difficulty. Of course, there always will be difficulties in any project, but it did feel good. And now we enter footage from the 7th and final session, where I started by making a chamfer around the entire edge of the base. That's because the very first chunk I sawed off from this bit a bit into the base at the front. So to make it look more natural, I tried to prolong that chamfer all the way around. That bit that was removed wasn't a problem initially because it was supposed to be removed anyway for the shape of the coiled base body. But since I didn't do that, the chamfer looked unnatural by itself, so I had to fix it later. And now I use my rotary tool to carve some detail on the snake. I decided to go with just the eyes, the mouth, and a scale pattern only on the belly of the snake. Initially, I would have liked to make a full scale pattern even for all of the snake, but it felt excessive. When I was looking at pictures of cobras to try to think about it, and no matter the scale pattern I'd have made, I'd have had to add some color to it to make it truly work as a cobra's skin, to my satisfaction at least. So I decided to go somewhat minimal and just add detail on the front section that will be seen most of the time, so that I don't overstay or over detail it for no reason. For the scale pattern, I based myself on the memory of what I had Googled initially on how to. When I looked pictures of the snake, it was a long time ago at the point where I carved these details, so I might be completely off base. I don't think so. I did take some notes at some point on that, so I think I'm pretty close to. I don't know. It feels like I'm close at least. It looks good. It looks correct to me. And I think that's all that matters, if it looks correct and good to me. Because of this angle, you can see a bit of the sketch that was made initially on the base for the coiled body. I forgot to erase that, and I probably won't. It will wash away over time, so it doesn't bother me much. And yeah, that's the project done. It was a fun project, a bit longer than it needed to be because of how I procrastinated on it, but I'm happy with it. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to come by whenever you want. Bye.